where comics, movies, games, rumors, and Kardashians come at you 24/7. 3 champions will rise to defend you from wasting precious time, money, and emojis. BK, Nate, and Derreck will show you how to do it the player way.
Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, we are back once again. It's on once again, Patron once again. It's your boy BK, along with his co-captains Nate.
Hi.
And Derreck.
Corrupting the System on Instagram and The Chosen Pessimist, NYST on Twitter.
You see how I protected you from Nate in that one by putting you last?
Yo, shot!
Exactly, man. So, how's everybody been doing this week?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Right on.
Glad we got that out the way. For those who are just as excited as Nate, welcome back to the Player Way podcast. It is a weekly look into the lives of 3 gentlemen in 3 of the major cities in the United States: Atlanta, Dallas, Texas, and Los Angeles, recorded in a single take across all 3 cities. And what basically goes on our podcast from week to week is we get together and talk about how to curate media and spend our free time the player way.
You know what? You're right, BK. We all work out tons of hours a week. 40 is kind of a goal, but usually it could be 50, 60, 70. And,
absolutely, man.
We all want to find time to do things we like because we're all humans and we are all inherently selfish. We got to do things for ourselves when we were kids, and then we became adults and we got responsibilities. So we got to shoehorn any of this stuff in wherever we can. Where I used to dedicate maybe 15 hours a week to video games, and now I got to, take care of twins and find maybe a couple hours to fit this all in. But, we want to make sure that when we have that quality time to ourselves that we're doing it the right way. We don't want to waste the time that we get, the rare time that we get, wondering what we need to do.
Exactly. That's kind of how this podcast came about to begin with. I, myself, as Derreck kind of alluded to, is when you get busy, it's kind of hard to justify spending money on video games or going to see every movie every single week or keeping up with everything that is happening. It is impossible. And what kind of happened...
Impossible.
Exactly. What kind of happened... Impossible. Impossible. Shout out to Joe Coy. But what was crazy is that we noticed that by having conversations every week, like, for example, Nate was the guy who always is keeping up on the latest, like, comic stuff and the comic adaptations. And it was impossible, but then at the same time, I was keeping up with UFC all the time and keeping everybody informed on that. And Derreck for sure is a big... else to do. And Derreck is a big... He's a person that consumes anime who, while I start out watching a lot more anime than him, he consumes it at a much higher rate than I do. And I think it also has to do with having kids, because it's kind of like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You put a cartoon in front of them, and then you also get to watch anime.
The thing is, I can turn it on, and they're not going to interrupt the plot line as much because I'm reading it, and they're illiterate, stupid, and so there you go. So exactly. I got that ahead of them.
Exactly. Yes, he did just call his kids stupid. So, yes, absolutely.
A little behind on the learning curve.
Exactly. So, I mean, we hope that you as the listener, we all hope that you as the listener get the same kind of experience out of this. We try our best to curate our content and what we talk about based on what probably makes the most sense as far as spending our money and our time. And when we talk about also saving your precious emojis, it's also that text time. Because when you're in between picking the kids up or taking care of the to-do list for the wife or just trying to get from point A to point B in a city that never sleeps, it's you have to kind of pick your battles. And so we kind of all live vicariously through one another. Sometimes Derreck watches a movie that we don't want to watch, Pirates, or Mummy. I will take one for the team and watch All Eyez on Me, and they can it helps us save money, it helps us save our time, and it helps us really get an understanding of what media is out there and how we can really consume it the player way. That's what that is 100% about. So we hope that this podcast is something that you guys are really getting something out of it. And before we get into our normal banter that we do on every episode, let's kind of go over. We're in episode 9. People are getting used to us. We appreciate the feedback that everyone is giving us from week to week about how the shows are going and how the podcast is progressing. If you want to be someone who gives us some sort of feedback, you can email us at playerwaypodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's playerwaypodcast@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at Play Life Your Way. That's at Play Life Your Way. You can look at our website, playlifeyourway.com. And then you can also go on iTunes, which is one of our main networks that is easiest to kind of follow us on and make comments. You can leave a comment there and tell us how we're doing. So I do want to give a quick shout out to Hale Shepard. He and I got on the phone today. He is an amazing writer down in Austin, Texas, and he's probably going to be writing some video game stuff for us. But he what got him excited to talk about writing with us is that he had been listening to this podcast, and he loved the conversational style of it. He loved the open-endedness of it, and loved that we all tend to have some really strong opinions about what's going on. And as we have this journey together, as you listen from week to week, you're going to find out a little bit more. Go ahead.
I apologize for my interruption and interjection here, but this gentleman that you're speaking of, this is not somebody that you knew. It's not somebody that Nate knew. It's not somebody that I knew, correct?
No, not at all.
This is somebody that came across our podcast, liked what we did, got in contact with you, the CEO, to write for us, and that's what.
Yeah, basically what
I like I said, I apologize for the interjection, but if you don't mind, talk on that for a minute.
No,
that's really cool.
happened organically. It happened organically. I mean, basically what we always encourage people to do with our marketing is we don't really pay for views and marketing and things like that. Not at this point, at least. It's all grassroots. And so a longtime friend of Derreck and I, who we went to high school, Ivy Lee, was sharing some of the content. And through her, he found out about it, and then he contacted me. So we really thank everyone who listens to the podcast and supports us from week to week. We do this for you guys. We probably wouldn't be doing a podcast if our friends didn't say, man, you guys should record this. You guys should be doing this. And so we really appreciate everything that everyone does. And I think that's what Derreck's interruption was about, is to get back to thanking everyone for what we do from week to week. It gives us a lot of energy. So yeah, by all means, share it. If you like it, share it. Who knows what may happen? Somebody else may hear about it, and your friend will tell your friend, and their friend will tell their friend, and their friend will tell their friend, like AT&T. Imagine the impossibilities. That's how religions start. Exactly. Yes, and also multi-level marketing schemes. Shout out to Herbalife. So, anyway, long story short, we just wanted to kind of take some time to explain what the podcast is about. I did mention that I watched a certain movie in theaters, so why don't we lead off with the box office hustle for this week? Y'all want to do that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Quiet on the set. Can we please have quiet on the set?
Yes, can I have your attention, please? Box office hustle.
All right, it's time for the box office hustle.
All right, cut and print. Beautiful guy.
All right, so this week's box office hustle, we center around the long-awaited biopic of Mr. Tupac Shakur, rest in peace. I guess he's our moment of silence for this week, right?
And there was his moment of silence right there. That was the moment of silence. Let me ask you a couple questions, BK. You're the only one that saw it out of us, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The public and social feedback of this movie has mostly been negative. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad movie. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad film. You're going to give us your take here in a moment. But I had a couple questions since you are the only one to see it. Personally, I have no real motivation to see it. I've never been a huge Tupac fan. Illustrated by the fact my favorite song is "Changes," one that came out after he died, allegedly. Shout out to California Love. Come on, but
yeah, absolutely. I was about to say.
Yeah, my bad. I talked with somebody at work today, and they said they hadn't heard good things, but they're still going to see it anyway. because, Derek, I gotta. And I've noticed that recurring theme through a lot of people. They said specifically that they have to go see it specifically for the community. So, as a black male in America, I want to ask you, did you go see this because, hey, this is a black film?
No, I am a long time fan of Tupac, and what made me actually go see this movie, because you guys know offline we had talked about it, and we were kind of like, I don't know, but we had mentioned before this movie even came out and had its wide release nationwide. We talked about the fact that the trailer, and Nathan had mentioned the graphics, had given a huge indication of what the budget was like. And I listened to an interview on The Breakfast Club where the lead producer and director of the film talked a little bit about that. And they had mentioned that the film's budget was somewhere, and forgive me for those people out there if I'm incorrect. You guys feel free to Google this and fact check me if need be. But I want to say that the operation budget of this film was like $35 million. So they didn't need to make a ton of money to make their money back. They were more or less just trying to make a film that memorialized someone that was important to them. The thing that got my attention, though, despite Jada Pinkett Smith's protests, John Singleton's protests, and 50 Cent's, and 50 Cent's, thank you, and 50 Cent's, that means they were incorrect when they even said that on the radio. I had a feeling that was wrong. And then also 50 Cent's protests about the film. What made me actually want to see it is the filmmakers talked about that this was actually a second movie within a trilogy. And I was like, what? I was kind of trying to figure out what that meant. What they're saying, here's what the I think it's H.T. Hutton or something like that. I can't remember his name. But Benny Boom is the director. And what they said is that Straight Outta Compton was like their first movie. Like they were a part of that production. And that this movie was supposedly like a sequel kind of. And then the third in their universe, because they use that terminology, is going to be the Death Row Story. So, like, This is supposedly kind of, like, treated as a sequel film in a weird way, which makes no sense to me. And at the same time, it kind of does, because it explains why some of the same actors ended up appearing in this film as in some of the other films. I don't know if that's, like, a philosophical sequel type of thing, but that was something that piqued my interest. So I kind of went in more so because of the community of listeners of this podcast. I felt like Derek had taken an L on a couple of films for the rest of the team, so I was like, I'll take one on this one and waste my money. And it ended up not being a huge waste of money. It was an okay film. It was a valiant effort, and it was something that provided a lot of jobs for a lot of people, and I applaud the effort. As a black man, I applaud black film. That being said...
Wait a second. I got a quick question.
Yeah.
You're black?
I totally thought you were going to say something completely different.
Oh,
I thought you were going to be like...
This is awkward. I'm in the wrong room. I am...
You're so silly. You're so silly. But no, what
so
I
you
was
heard about it on
at,
Breakfast Club that they were trying to do a trilogy. I know you mentioned that the budget, you heard on there his budget was about 35. I looked it up. It's about 45 on there, and made about 26 this weekend. So it might make its money back. I know according to Nate, they usually have to double that at least to kind of break even. I think he said something to that effect.
Yeah, I mean, with this particular film, there is something that kind of has to be talked about that I think people... The problem with a film like this is the type of moviegoer that goes to see this film is not a very well-informed moviegoer. And therefore, their analysis of how the film works and how well the film plays out doesn't do the film justice. This is not a box office film popcorn flick. This is not a movie per se. This is like film. This is an artistic interpretation of a man's life. Much in the same way that NWA and Notorious was. However, with NWA's Straight Outta Compton retelling and Notorious, there was a whole lot of more money kind of thrown at it and a whole lot more glitz and glamour thrown in there, a lot more action, a lot more stylized type of activity going on to attract a certain type of audience. This film, when we started looking at the trailer and at the artwork, because Nate had mentioned the artwork in a previous podcast, and in that, it kind of gave us the feeling that this was not going to be the same kind of thing. And so, watching the film, you start to notice, one, there are some strong performances. There are some really good acting in it. However, there's a lot of actors that are not quite ready for the big screen. The screenplay itself is not quite ready to be contending with a summer box office seeding. It's poorly placed in the box office, and it kind of leads you to believe that it's something that it's not.
Do you feel that they placed it here to be close to his birthday? Do you
no,
think that's
not
really
at
the
all.
Only reason?
No, they actually said that in the Breakfast Club is that they had no sort of plan to put it out due to any sort of anniversary or anything. Like the people, they had some issues with finding a director. They had John Singleton involved in it, and they couldn't quite come to an agreement on his vision versus what the producers wanted to do. And they ended up settling on Benny Boom because he was already a producer involved with the project. So they kind of settled with him. And if you don't know who Benny Boom is somebody who was trained underneath the tutelage of what's that black music video director who's like really, really famous? Hype Williams.
Hype Williams.
Oh. Yeah, he was trained under Hype Williams and trained alongside Little X, both of which were really big toward the end of the 90s and into the turn of the century. Benny Boom made his own name for himself, but you got a guy who's a music video director directing a really large film, and he, by his own admission, said that when he got the call, it really took him aback because they were working on a BMF inspired film, and which is about the BMF gang here in Atlanta. And so he really didn't expect
that was Jules's wallet.
Exactly. So he didn't expect this at all. And you get that feeling as you watch this film that he was a little in over his head. I have an article up on the Play Life Your Way website, playlifeyourway.com, and Play Your Way Network, and it's called the 5 reasons why All Eyez on Me was not ready for the big screen. And so I give some reasons as to there's some things happening here that are just not quite buttoned up. Some things that are not quite what you would expect to see from a film that is sandwiched between, Wonder Woman and like Transformers. It's just a bad timing. We talked about that. Timing is everything in the box office. We talked about that with Power Rangers. It probably would have been and Derreck, I think you said this, that putting Power Rangers out at around like
a couple weeks after Beauty and the Beast.
Oh no, not even a couple. You said if you put it at Halloween, it would have done much better because you had,
with marketing,
sales of
outfits,
costumes,
kids.
Yeah, exactly. And so this film, what the problem with this film is, it came out at the wrong time of the year. It was oversold, and it probably should have been a made-for-TV film. If it was a film that came out on BET or Lifetime, we wouldn't be saying the things that we say. But because we paid the money to go to this big blockbuster film, and we expected it to contend with Notorious and Straight Outta Compton, we expected that level of performance. There's not that level of performance. That the costuming's not there. The music, the way it's done, even down to the fact that there's this really awkward voiceover that many people speculate is actually Snoop Dogg playing himself, but like in a weird anime voiceover way. And it caused everyone in the theater to erupt in laughter, and not in a good way. I mean, every time this dude came on film, everybody busted out laughter. Someone in the theater actually said, "Why they got Nick Cannon playing Snoop Dogg?" Like, it was it broke the whole vibe of the film where, we're pretty much lamenting about a character who is kind of a part of the fabric of hip-hop. So my long story short, my point is that, is it a good film? It's a good film. It's just not the type of film you want to go see in the middle of the summertime and you're really looking to kind of being knocked off your feet. It's a great film, like the Temptations docudrama that you see, or biopic rather, and the Jacksons and American, the Jacksons and American Dream miniseries, like those types of. It feels like one of those films. And that's, in the long run, people are going to say it was a good enough film, because when you play it on television, people are going to say, why do people hate this movie? It's not going to play. People are not going to understand.
It'll be sufficient for like a Saturday afternoon.
Oh, yeah. And people are going to be like, why do people not like this film? And it's going to be because it's not in a theater. It's not with the big screen and things like that. And people are going to say, oh, okay, I get it. Because when you put it in a theater, it's out of place. Much in the same way, if you play anything, you play Breaking Bad in the theater, it's going to be out of place.
Gotcha.
So
I did want to ask you about the marketing on this movie, because a few people that I spoke with, they didn't even know a Tupac movie was even coming out. I didn't even know it until about 3 weeks ago, just because I just happened to see a trailer for it in front of maybe Pirates. No, it was before that. Anyway, irrelevant. Another one says that a friend of theirs was seeing it this weekend, and they checked in, seeing All Eyez on Me. They're like, "What is that?" And then I know we talked about this, I believe, when you and I did our box office hustle episode about the marketing on this movie. Like, the most buzz I feel that I've heard about it was this weekend when it actually came out, and I feel like a lot of other people were like, "Oh yeah, this is when it came out." What do you think faltered on that with everything that you just outlined, with the music video director, the placement of it? Just, do you feel that they just didn't have the right team of people to just get the word out, or what do you think?
Well, I think again, I mentioned something earlier about like black film, and what does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Just because it's a film with black people in it? No, because we had Get Out come out recently, and that was a big box office draw, and that's technically black film. We've had Django Unchained, even though a white guy made the film, that's kind of black film. So that's not what I mean by it. I don't mean that a film with black people. What I mean by it is the interest of the audience is very in line with like a Madea type audience. Very few people know when the next Madea film is coming out.
Until it's just out.
Yeah, and the people who follow it know, which goes more to what I was saying, is like, those are not the types of movies that tend to come out in the middle of the summer box office, like
September, October, November time.
And on top of that, I want to say, and y'all can fact check this for me if you want, but I want to say this was also a somewhat limited release as well. I don't think it was like everywhere. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's true. If not, it should have been. I mean, it kind of had a bit of an art film introduction. It's kind of like the little film that could, which is really weird when you think. I think it's hard for me to imagine that Tupac Shakur does not have the impact that Biggie Smalls did, but that's what it's starting to look like. It's starting to look like everybody and their mom knew about Notorious, and it could be because P. Diddy was involved, and he was like, everybody.
That's exactly
what
I was about to say. You talked about that.
Yeah, I think he just really got behind it. I just don't know if there's any person who really got behind this film the way that Diddy got behind it. Same thing with Straight Outta Compton. Dre came out of hiding, to promote this film. There just wasn't any of those stories, like, other than. The main story of this whole thing was, hey, we got an actor that looks like Tupac. I would hope so. I mean, it's like
Tom Hanks as Tupac.
Like, that's, everybody had Demetrius Shipp Jr. on like night shows and like late night talk shows, and it's like, you look just like him. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I think so. I would hope that we would know a little bit more about this film, but I think it also goes to. I don't know, man. I can't put my finger on it. I think this is going to be one that lives with people for a long time, that really feel like the movie does tell the story. Is there a better way to have told the story? From what I have heard from like Afeni Shakur, Afeni Shakur is Tupac's mother, and apparently the producers had a talk with her before the film came out, and they asked her for a list of things that she didn't want them to cover, and they omitted things from the film out of consideration for her. And you can't make a commercially viable a commercially viable biopic that way. You get what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of stories. Exactly. There's a lot of stories like the Hughes brothers debacle, where Tupac allegedly beat up the directors of Menace to Society and got himself kicked out of the film, or about Janet Jackson and his interaction with her. Like, his biggest crossover hit after Juice was Poetic Justice. There's nothing about that in this film. There's no behind the scenes of how he made music, and the reasoning the filmmakers give is, well, we wanted you to see the man, not the artist. And there's a lot of people involved with this that want to like inject a feeling about this person, and you got to let his life speak for itself. Like, you can't try to edit before you show us what's going on, because the truth of the matter is Biggie Smalls was a whole different type of person than Tupac was. Tupac was about that gangster life and about perpetuating that violence. And I know that's not a popular thing to say, but that's ultimately what happens, and this movie shows that. And it's hard to celebrate a person's life that way. This is a tragedy in the biggest sense of the word. I think in Notorious they do a good job of showing you that Biggie Smalls' biggest problem is that he made that Who Shot You song, and he released it knowing that it would be a blowback on him. And that they do a good job of showing you how when he goes forward with that song, like I think even Red Lights Come On or something like that on the stage when he sings that song in Notorious, and it's like, this is the thing that probably got him killed. They don't do it. There's so many things that Tupac does in this film that it's like you don't feel sorry for him when he gets killed at the end. You know, it's a tragedy that somebody who was probably one of the biggest artists, if not the biggest hip hop artist to date at that time, and he died before he's 25. And on top of that, he died before Biggie Smalls died. So it was like a shock to everybody because he also had been shot already. So I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but long story short, the fact that I'm talking about it this way tells you that there's some substance to this film. It's just not the big box office blockbuster that you want to go see this time of the year. You don't want to be depressed. You don't want to, you know what I'm saying? Like, you go to the movies to escape after your 40 hours a week. What did we talk about at the beginning of this episode? You want to feel like you are escaping. This movie, you feel mad depressed, bro. You get out of this film, you're like, oh man. At least like the way Notorious ends, they kind of lift him up at the end, and like you see, like there's this urban legend of like the radio comes on and they play his music out in the street, and
and then they showed everybody in the streets, the artwork, the murals, the
filmmakers. The filmmakers don't give you that sense. I can't explain to you how much of a train wreck and yet a beautiful train wreck this is. There's a lot of great things. Right? There's a lot of good things about this film. And there's a lot of bad things about this film. And that's not the type of conversation you want to have in the middle of the summer when you're trying to sell a box office draw.
And if we're wondering why Nate is so quiet, he's just waiting for a John Denver biopic to come out. Country road, take me home.
Take me home.
Long story short,
to the play.
Is this movie?
Yes.
Is it absolutely important to go see this film? Not right now. It is not the player way to spend your money on this. The player way is to wait until Redbox or Netflix or when it comes on BET, where they play it 50 times around Thanksgiving. That's the time to watch this film. But it's good.
He speaks the truth. The truth.
Yeah. So anyway, what have you guys been up to this week?
Well, thank you, BK, for your thesis on All Eyez on Me.
All Eyez on Me. I was up to
John Denver
this week. I got to catch up on some anime actually after having a riveting conversation with BK about anime last week. He reminded me that I needed to get up on Dragon Ball Super, so I actually in a week flew through about 20 episodes and got caught up with this recruiting saga that Goku has been on. And you and I had a wonderful conversation yesterday. As I mentioned before to the listeners out there, BK is my anime godfather. And anytime I have questions about anime, I go straight to BK. And I know there's some of them he's like, this is partially a ridiculous question. I can only imagine what kind of faces he makes behind the phone when I'm asking him. But every time I go to him, he answers and helps me make sense of any confusion I had. But anyway, Dragon Ball Super, it's getting really exciting. The actual tournament's about to start. I'm excited about that. I've been catching up on My Hero Academia, which is another wonderful anime that BK introduced.
Are you really going to blow right past Dragon Ball Super like that? Like, are you just not going to... Are you not going to tell people why it's important to go watch Dragon Ball Super right now?
I didn't know if I wanted to just go ahead and tell them that the fact that the whole universe is at stake right now, and they're about to have a thing called the Tournament of Power, in which every universe is gathering monsters and martial artists. They're getting their strongest beings to fight before Zen-sama can watch... Zeno-sama, my bad. Is going to watch this fight, and depending on if it's to his liking or not, he may just erase the entire universe, because that's his level of power, to erase a whole universe like that.
And Goku agreed to it.
So that's what's going on.
And Goku agreed to that, just so he could have a fight.
Goku suggested it. He suggested a fight between all universes and be like, hey, you could... And then was perfectly fine with the idea of the almighty Zeno to say, I'll just erase the ones that lose. And Goku, just being the happy-go-lucky fighter that he is, was perfectly fine with that, not realizing the implications and the billions of lives that he actually put in harm's way by even doing this.
Right.
Including the newborn Bola.
Right, absolutely. Now, let me ask you this. What do you think about the lineup for Universe 7 versus, everyone else? Has it been kind of shocking to you? Because that's the reason why I wanted you to kind of zoom through it and catch up. Because what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk to you about what you thought of the lineup. Because I was pretty shocked by the team that they were able to kind of amass in such a short period of time.
I was extremely shocked. To be honest, when I initially thought of the team, I immediately thought of Z Fighters, and then I started deleting people because I'm like, no, we're defending the whole universe. We got to make sure we have a powerful team, but that can also function as a team. And Goku flies around. He recruits Krillin, which I was surprised at. He recruits 18. Android 17 commits. Vegeta and Majin Buu gets in ridiculous shape for this tournament. Like Majin Buu, quote unquote, I don't even know what to call him. Basic Majin Buu, I guess. He looked like Super Buu. He had gotten that good a shape.
Yeah, he actually channeled some of Super Buu's power.
Yeah, okay, cool. Thanks for that. See? That's what I'm talking about, y'all. That's exactly what I'm talking about right there. So he amassed this very powerful team, and it filtered down through odds and ends to where Majin Buu fell asleep. And he's going to be asleep for 2 months, which it could be 2 months. It could be the next hour and 5 minutes, because after this tournament, whoever loses, the universe is erased in that instant. So it doesn't really matter what happens outside of this tournament. And
a little bit of a spoiler alert. Just want to let you guys know, you might want to stop this right now. But the thing that I never thought would happen, that no one ever thought would happen, not only is 17 and 18 back on the team, okay,
dude,
but Frieza.
Hold on, before
back.
you drop the. Well, he dropped it. I
it.
couldn't stop it.
Hey, sorry.
I couldn't stop it.
I had to pull the pin. I had to let it go.
No. You're fine. And to anyone hearing this who has a kind of, we're not ruining anything for you. Like, this is something that you're going to see regardless. But the thing is, when I first was watching this and I see him going to recruit 17, in my mind, I didn't really think that 17 had been training for the time. I wouldn't think that he would be really an adequate fighter, especially after seeing some of these fighters in different universes that gave Goku a very difficult time early and often. I'm like, if he's the greatest martial artist, then what is an android going to do that I feel like Trunks and Goten could take on? Well, they definitely take the time to show you that 17 has been training. He's been defending an island 24 hours a day, has a family, and has no problem sparring with Goku at Super Saiyan Blue at even levels.
Absolutely. So Frieza, 17, 18, and Goku all on the same team. Like that,
and let's not forget Muten Roshi.
Yeah, I think that was kind of funny that they got Muten Roshi.
But
anyway, it's exciting. I'm really impressed at the risks that Akira Toriyama and the animation company behind all of this has been willing to do. Toei Animation has been doing some crazy things with Dragon Ball Super, a story that takes place, a couple of years after the end of the Buu saga, but before the end of Dragon Ball Z. So this is really, the continuation of the Dragon Ball Z saga, just rebranded so that people realize, hey, this is a new series. So if you're a Dragon Ball Z fan, not GT, and you are not watching this, you need to go get some baby powder and slap your ass across the face.
I don't even know how you slap your ass across the face, but you just need to do it. You need to make it
that's
happen.
That's how bad. Look, I'm trying to see what that be like. And if you don't watch this, you got to watch this, because watching Dragon Ball Super is...
That's right, man. And I've also been catching up on My Hero Academia. As I mentioned before, another one that you got me up on, they're also in a tournament, actually, where we last left our heroes. They're in a huge stadium where they're all displaying their powers to hero academies across the hero organizations, support organizations. All the classes are competing, and that's actually culminated into an actual tournament now that the first 2 rounds are complete after the race and after the team efforts. So we're actually getting to meet a lot of other characters, some different quirks. How far up are you on that, BK?
I'm actually behind on that, so you're the pro on this one.
All right, yeah. Well, we're getting to actually see the progression of our hero Midoriya, his power, and he just had a very interesting fight. I'm not going to spoil that one with respect to BK, but this one is definitely something you need to catch up. Why you need to watch it? Because this show, as I've stated every time I describe it, you hear the excitement in my voice. It has the action, it has the storyline, the narration, and the characters, and it's a modern day one. Like this is a series that if this came out 25 years ago, it would have been up there with Dragon Ball. It would have been up there with Bleach. It would have been up there with Naruto, in my opinion. And my opinion is what matters to me. And this is just a good series. I'm sad that there's already 25 episodes out, and I'm on episode 21, and I know the seasons are only 13, so that means I'm already up against it. I'm gonna be right on the edge of my seat until season 3.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's what I've been up on.
That's what's up. Nate, what you been up to?
I finally watched Power Rangers.
Oh,
because it came out digitally.
Power Rangers.
So I rented it, and if I remember correctly, you guys liked it, right?
Absolutely. I think Derreck and I definitely liked it, but we saw... What is that?
If y'all don't know what that was my son's teddy bear that he outfitted in blue Power Ranger gear that plays the Power Rangers theme song. So I had to go ahead and drop that randomly.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, the Power Rangers. It was a okay movie. The biggest problem with the Power Rangers film is it was a big, long Krispy Kreme commercial.
No, there was a myriad of problems with it.
Nate, I got a question for you.
I didn't enjoy it at all. I really didn't.
I got a question for you before you expand on that. Now, this was back in episode 0 when we talked about this, right, BK?
I believe so.
I believe so.
March, yeah.
Nate, did you notice kind of what I meant when we talked about this back in March, even if you remembered that it had the feel that the entire budget was saved for the last 17 minutes of that movie?
Yeah. First off, the story was just... Now, I don't remember too much of the TV show. I remember watching it on TV only because it, came on before or after X-Men, the animated series for me. So,
all right, so before you continue, your interest level was you only watched it as a kid just because it was something on.
Yeah, and I went into this movie blind. I really didn't have any opinion of it whatsoever. But... First off, it just kind of made no sense how they're all in this, no trespassing mine, all 5 of these guys. He goes after he drops off Billy, he's like, oh, I'm going to take the van for a while, goes for a walk, sees Kimberly jump into the water, and then he thinks he has to go and save her, but she's okay, and she sees him, and she's not freaked out that this guy's, in the middle of nowhere
Following
just
her.
watching her. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all in this small town together. We hang out in this area only.
2/3 of the movie we're already through, and we still haven't seen him morph. That's
I didn't understand. I did not understand what that was about.
I'm still watching teenagers argue.
About cost.
Yeah, here's the thing. The original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, the problem with that film is that it does not hold up with age. Like back in like the 90s,
this is exactly what we just talked about.
Yeah,
too.
with like neon, surfboards and airboards and.
Why was Prince in Batman?
Yeah, like all of these things, like you have to be very, very careful to make a film that is for a certain time, as opposed to telling a timeless, evergreen story that has content that you can always come back to and have replay value. But the problem with this film, already watching it since it's been in the theaters, is it's already aged. Like it's already something that doesn't make any sense, and it goes back to that, Pop-Tarts Saturday morning cartoon feel. And as an adult, I don't really want to see that right now. I want the content that I grew up with to grow along with me and to mature. And with seeing all of the CGI and the sneak peek of everything that was done, bringing in Elizabeth Banks and bringing in Bryan Cranston. Yeah, we're thinking, oh, okay, they're gonna really give us a serious film, and it starts off that way. That opening scene where you see, Zordon getting killed by the supposed Green Ranger, and there's this feeling of, oh, this is gonna be a serious film at first, and then, like you said, it starts to fall apart in that scene where they all just happen to be there at the same time, and. Yeah. You have to wonder.
Oh, the Black Ranger was just chilling there.
Well, what it makes you wonder is it's like, okay, supposedly the power coins choose the Rangers, right? So why is it that they all have to be in proximity to the coins in order for them to be chosen? Don't the power coins know where they are and bring them in? Like even in the original series, when they got chosen, they were at a juice bar somewhere and they got morphed. Like they got not morphed, but they got teleported back to the command center. In this one, they go to the command center, and just by happenstance. And we talked about that in a previous episode about films that rely heavily on happenstance. We talked about that with Alien Resurrection. The biggest fallout of that film, or Covenant, sorry, Alien Covenant. Thank you, I appreciate it. The biggest critique about that film has been that people make stupid decisions in those films. It's like the movie has to work in order. The only way for this movie to work is that everyone makes dumb decisions. And it's the same thing going on here. Is that what you're talking about?
This isn't Howdy Doody.
I feel like this movie didn't know what it wanted to be. It was marketed as like in a serious tone. Even the trailers were sort of moody and ominous. With his dad's like, "Oh, you're throwing your life away from being in detention." But and then,
Dad,
I would much rather they just embrace.
I did break my freaking leg, and I lost my scholarships. And all you can think about is detention.
You're telling me you have Saturday school? Back to boot camp.
I was watching it with someone, and in the middle of it, she sarcastically said, "Oh, it's so hard to be a teenager." Just making fun of the movie in itself, because that's almost what they were trying. It's like a coming of age story, but it didn't.
What's that other TV show on Netflix, BK, that you watch? Giggity. That other one about teenage drama, 13 Reasons.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you saying that, if you don't mind me quoting you, BK, you mentioned 13 Reasons would be a good show if they allowed it to have an adult perspective, and they just leave it only in a teenage perspective that life sucks and it's terrible and I'm 15 and I'm never going to get these pimples off my face and my life's going to end and it's a spiraling abyss and I can't find my other sock. But we all grow out of that, as BK talked about that show. And same thing with this. When I watched it, I felt like I was entertained. Yes, there were some cool action sequences, but it still felt like a CW TV show.
Oh,
they saved all the action sequences.
Wait a minute. Go ahead and say that one more time.
I enjoyed the movie. There were some action sequences and everything that were appealing. However, overall, I felt like I was watching a CW TV show.
Oh, truer words never spoken. Would you agree with that, Nate?
No, because honestly, I've been watching a CW TV show, and I
better.
enjoy that more than I enjoyed Power Rangers. God.
Man. Can't
All right,
win.
maybe
At
I was
least
watching.
CW
all right,
embraces
I'll
what
correct
it's
myself.
trying
Instead
to
of a
be,
CW,
you know,
I was
it's-
watching a WB
Yeah.
cartoon, a WB TV show, Dawson's Creek.
Moment of silence for Dawson's Creek. Man.
I don't want to wait.
Man.
For our lives to be over.
All right, so your overall
Yes.
analysis of Power Rangers.
Like, yeah, I really
It's a good
don't
one
want
for
them
the
to make a
background.
second one. I don't think they're gonna make a sequel because why?
Yeah,
You
they
showed
talked-
me nothing.
As of March, they had talked about it, but as of recently, all right, Nate, I have a would
I
you
think
rather.
it's made a lot of money on merchandising, so they're thinking about.
I have a
but
would
they're
you rather,
obviously
Nate.
Gonna have to go in a new direction.
Would you rather sit through the whole season of Iron Fist or watch Power Rangers for the exact amount of time?
I probably enjoyed Iron Fist more than I enjoyed Power Rangers.
And you bagged on Iron Fist so much, so for
At
you
least
to say that,
they had bad kung fu in every single episode. This I had to wait, an hour and 20 minutes for the bad kung fu.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad to say it. It's sad to say it, but yeah, I would actually go back and watch Iron Fist before I'd watch this.
I'm watching
again.
I'm watching a movie called Power Rangers. Show me the fucking Power Rangers in the first 30 minutes. That's no
I
reason
agree
to wait
with
this
that.
long.
I agree with that. And what's crazy is a lot of other movies that are bad like that, they usually show something early and often like this. Like take like Transformers. We got to see a Transformer really quickly in that one, and then we got to follow along. Like I said, I still think the first Transformers was by far the best one, but the Power Rangers movie really remind me of the second Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen, that was so choppy and just clearly edited. Let's throw this together and get another one of these movies out. We had the privilege of being in New York to watch this preview, one of the first 600 people to see this, you and I, BK,
Yeah.
and we were excited about it. And when I went and saw it 6 months later, I felt like the movie was still rushed to be even completed.
Yeah, I feel like this movie, and this kind of, I hate to go back to the Tupac thing, but I think there's so many films being made these days.
Tupac.
I think there's too many films being made for the fans as opposed to being made for everyone. And I know that sounds weird because most fanboys don't like that conversation. But here's what I mean. Hear me out. Don't kill me yet. What I mean by that is you have to balance between selling and marketing to as many people as possible while also being true to the source material. And I believe that there's a way to do that. I think Wonder Woman did a pretty good job at that. Definitely Marvel does it every single time they make a film. But where things tend to crumble apart is when they kind of get in, the filmmakers get into this groupthink mode where you can tell in a room somewhere where they were talking about this film, it sounded like everybody, yes, this is a great idea. Let's totally do that. Let's totally make this a Krispy Kreme infomercial. Let's have Krispy Kreme donuts. Let's talk about Krispy Kreme puns. Let's have Rita Repulsa stop the whole last fight just to have a Krispy Kreme donut. Let's put the fucking thing, bury it under.
Let's be real.
Let's bury it under the Krispy Kreme. Let all of this.
Maybe
let's
Krispy
if y'all know,
Kreme
but
put up for most of the production budget or something.
I don't know if
To
y'all
get
realize
one
this,
hell of
but
a
episode
placement.
9 of the Playboy podcast is brought to you by Krispy Kreme Donut.
Absolutely. Hey, drop bombs. Absolutely.
I really enjoyed the first Power Rangers from 94 or
What?
something like that.
Bitch, what?
At least look, right from the get-go, you jump, there, I don't know if you saw it recently, but I have the last few years, and right from the get-go, they're skydiving, they're doing ninja moves while they're skydiving, they land, they segue into rollerblading, they're doing ninja moves while they're rollerblading. You get to the fucking meat of it all,
all right, so
I'm saying that
So
was
you
much
would've
more
preferred
enjoyable
Kung
to
Fu
me.
out of a plane in this movie? That's what
Yes.
you would have preferred?
Yes.
All right.
Rather
boom.
than just an
Say
hour
no more.
of moodiness.
well,
you know?
there you go. Nate prefers the first Power Rangers the movie over this one.
Well, you know what? I think the rest of the world has spoken too, and they probably enjoyed it more than this too.
All right, well, let's just move right along.
Man.
To the next
to the next one.
To the next one on that. What else we got this week?
You know what comes out this weekend?
Oh, absolutely.
Autobots, transform. Autobots, roll out.
Mount up and roll out.
Regulate. Oh, wait, that was the wrong one. My bad. I said R.I.P. Nate Dogg.
Absolutely.
Even though Nate Dogg's speaking with us right now.
Hey.
See what I did?
Watch Tupac every day. Too soon.
I would also like to say, for the people who are listening, I like that Nate took all the time to fix it so we could see his beautiful face and end up being half of it the entire recording of this podcast.
Is this better?
Some people work for a living too.
Is this better? Yeah. So let's. You know, what's something odd has happened. I feel like that moment in The Grinch Who Stole Christmas where his heart grew 3 times its size. I'm actually
busted the tape measure.
Something happened in the marketing for the Transformers film this week on television that I did not expect them to do, and I'm so happy. And I may actually go see the film because of this. They've started showing a trailer on TV this week that says the final chapter in the Transformers cinematic trilogy, quadrilogy, however many films there are. Like, this is the final one. The final chapter is about the final countdown. Yeah, it's going down. You know, Transformers.
It's an illusion, Michael.
Shout out to Joe.
Shout out to Joe. Shout out to God Blue.
But yeah, man. Derreck, I think out of the 3 of us, you're the most excited for this film. Take it away, bro.
I am excited for this. I mean, it's giant robots that transform into vehicles. It's Michael Bay, who is a big kid in all his movie. If you're seeing a movie and there's low sweeping angles, there's clear pyrotechnic explosions, you're probably watching a Michael Bay film, and you know it. And you know there's going to be large cut scenes, the camera's going to be jagged and edgy, and if there's Transformers in it, you know, this is a summer blockbuster. June was the blockbuster month. We started out with Wonder Woman, we got Mummy, we got Cars, and we got Transformers the last night. Sir Anthony Hopkins is in this. Sir Anthony Hopkins, you know what I mean? As we mentioned before, between him and Morgan Freeman, those are the only 2 grown men that I really want reading me a bedtime story. And his narration through the trailer, I didn't get excited until their 3rd version of the trailer, where they really explain, like, this is Optimus's last stand for Earth, against his creators, everything. And, you know, I mean, how do you not want to see it? I mean, we're all boys at heart, right?
I know how you don't want to see it. Let's not ask that question, because we'll get into that.
How do you not want to see it? Well, all right, Nate, I'll say this.
How do you not want to see
this
it?
Weekend?
I'm sure Nate can tell us why he would not want to see this film.
What would you rather see coming out this weekend over Transformers, Nate?
Power Rangers.
Oh my goodness! He just completely rebuked that film.
I'm just joking. I you know what? I do love the Transformers movies, but they've gone too long.
Wonder Woman's at $275 million.
Yeah, you know, I was bringing up, listen, you know, if Nate doesn't have any further thing to add as far as what movie he'd rather see over Transformers.
Further defecation on Michael Bay Golds.
Yeah, I mean, I think Derreck did bring up something that I think we could talk a little bit about.
I was just looking at the top 2017 movies, and Beauty and the Beast, $503 million. Number 2, Guardians of the Galaxy at $374, and then Wonder Woman at $275, just less than $100 million behind it, and it's only been out 19 days.
It would almost seem as if it would. I mean, you could almost say that Wonder Woman is making Guardians of the Galaxy money by this point.
Well, no. First of all, we didn't set the buffer of what it needed to make.
Bitch, what?
Actually, if you listen to our, oh no, Nate, I'm going to go ahead and handle this one if we can. If we listen to our recording last week while we discussed this, you gave us a 10 million buffer, and then you tried to kind of back up a little bit, maybe because you allegedly forgot because of fish oils, and maybe say 20 or 25, and then go past it. But you did give us a 10 million buffer when we had a gentleman's bet on this last. Was that last week?
So it's all right. It's got a week and a half, right?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. I heard gunshots. What did you just say?
Go right ahead. You got a week and a half to reach what Guardians reached in a month.
In a month. Yep. Yeah. We have a week and a half for it to get 25 million. And what did it do this weekend? 41 million? 41. It almost doubled All Eyez. It actually was only 12 less than Cars 3, which was the top movie of the weekend.
Yeah, and Nate did say that was going to happen, and yeah, he did say that Cars would
drop off.
But I think someone did say last week that the biggest thing about Wonder Woman is it doesn't really have any major box office competition right now, so it could pretty much keep on growing.
But as we can easily tell, June is the biggest month for movies right now, and it has heavy hitters, and it's still competing. It's still competing.
Would you?
And let's just, for humor's sake, let's just go ahead and look at Alien Covenant.
In case
568,000 this week compared to Guardians of the Galaxy 5 million.
You got to feel sorry for this movie. I mean, even I couldn't predict that this movie would do this. I mean, it's doing King Arthur, Legend of the Sword bad.
It's right at 72 million overall. 72 million.
Aliens.
I'm so sad.
Yeah, Alien Covenant. Like, the only reason I keep mentioning, in case people aren't remembering, is when we talked about Alien Covenant, I predicted that the following weekend, that Guardians would beat it, because opening weekend, Alien did about, I want to say 35, and Guardians did 34, and then the week after, Guardians has dominated it ever since. So the only weekend Guardians didn't beat it was Alien Covenant's opening weekend, which it only lost by like $1 million.
Man.
But shout out to BK for calling the long burn on Guardians, dude.
Yeah,
seriously, man.
Yeah, I told y'all Guardians is gonna stay out in theaters. I will say that I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is gonna have a longer burn than Wonder Woman will have. I do think that if you look,
is it gonna be the biggest Marvel one?
I mean, it already was. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy as a series already is their biggest box office draw. Would you say, Nate? That franchise
outside of the Avengers,
outside of the Avengers.
Well, outside, yeah, probably.
But you don't think Guardians of the Galaxy is bigger than the Avengers? Pound for pound?
No.
Pound for pound, you don't think so?
You mean they're like a bigger draw?
Here's what I'm saying, like for.
Or are you telling
okay, so here's what I mean by that. When I say pound for pound, what I mean, so like in fighting, you can take somebody like Demetrius Johnson and compare them to a John Jones. And you can say who pound for pound is better, meaning like, yeah, obviously if you put those two guys in a ring, the guy who weighs more and has a bigger reach advantage is going to win just because he's just bigger. But what I mean by that is if you take Guardians of the Galaxy and it doesn't have nearly as much intellectual property that is readily like digestible by the normal crossover audience. And then you look at the Avengers that has, like, Captain America Civil War had everybody in it. They had even Spider-Man, which we know is the all-time killer of the box office. So you put those two together, and Guardians of the Galaxy...
Got numbers when y'all are ready.
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy can do a whole lot more damage with a lot less intellectual property.
Yeah.
I'll say this. Top 10 Marvel... Actually, really top 10 Marvel movies. I'm going to take out Spider-Man because that was Sony back in the day. Of course. But it goes Avengers, Ultron, Iron Man 3, Civil War, and then Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And then...
well, there you go then.
And
then...
But keep in mind, those are total box office numbers.
Well, yeah, but that...
So Captain America Civil War is only at 408, Guardians of the Galaxy at 374 right now.
Sorry, I just need to...
So it'll probably...
I just put this up to my head for a second.
I don't think Guardians 2 will reach $1 billion.
I mean, I give it up to you now. Everything I said, all that stuff I said, I'm sorry. I was wrong.
But Derreck I mean, it's amazing what they accomplished.
No, keep in mind,
With-
this is still live right now, BK. Everything else, that's total box office numbers. So, like, the Avengers was at 623. That's super high, but Age of Ultron's at 459. So, Guardians of the Galaxy being at 374, getting up to 459 is very doable. So, for it to be a standalone Marvel film and the Avengers have everybody in it and that be the biggest one versus this one that just has quote unquote the Guardians in it, that's the biggest one standalone, right?
Wait,
It's
so I
their
don't,
best franchise without
Yeah,
Robert
without
Downey
everybody
Jr.
else.
So,
yeah.
so I was
exactly.
So I
no,
was,
just
so
not
I was
even
a,
everybody else. RDJ.
So I was a little right. A little right.
You were a lot of bit right.
Oh, thank you. I don't want to die yet.
You took
have-
3 lefts and became right.
I see what you did there.
Thank you. Oh, yeah? Things I see.
That's an insult. All right, man. Yeah, so Transformers, Derek, your prediction box office wise for Transformers?
We got Cars still out. Family, Wonder Woman. Jesus, Wonder Woman. Took 41 million away from everybody else.
Didn't quite have that drop we thought.
Did it, Nate?
What?
I was just finishing BK's sentence. Transformers it's got to at least hit over 50. It's gonna at least be over 50.
What did the fourth one open up to?
What'd you say?
What did the fourth one open up to?
That's a good question.
Transformers?
Yeah.
What was that? What was that one up
Opening
against,
weekend
though, too?
of the fourth one was 100 million.
Ooh.
What was it? I wonder what its competition was.
But
that
the fourth
weekend.
one worldwide still made over $1 billion. I mean, that's why we have a fifth one. Even though that was sort of a 3.5 hour piece of shit.
Yeah.
Dude, that one was kind of a brutal.
It's hard to say.
I won't watch these in theaters because, I mean, they're too long.
Yeah. It's hard to say. 50 million, I don't know if it's going to make 50 million.
I feel like that would be on the... Oh, you don't think 50?
I think I want to make I think I want to make a gentleman's bet. Play that music.
Bets, bets, bets. Place your bets here. We got a gentleman bet right over here. Let's get it going, boys.
All right, it's time for the gentleman's bet. It's one of my favorite times of the show. All right, Derek. So you're saying that the new Transformers film is going to make 50 million
at least.
And what did the last one? And what did the last
more.
one? And what did the last one make? Well, hold on. What did they spend? Let's Google this.
God, probably 150 at least. I think it'll open 85.
Dude, I think it'll open big. It's a Transformers movie in the summertime. Come on, man.
Still popular,
You're not giving it 50 now?
I'm giving it 80 to 85.
I'll raise it to 60.
I'll raise it to 50 cents.
Oh! None at all.
Ah, see, he thought I was gonna go low, but I was waiting for him to overhit it, and now I got it. All right, 50 million is what I believe it's gonna make.
He drew me offside.
I sure did.
5 yards.
I sure did. Thanks, Nate. Thanks, Nate, for your help. No, I definitely think with everything that's out there, I think some people are gonna go see All Eyez on Me because there's this desire to see a beautiful car wreck. And everybody's wondering, is it really that bad? I think they're going to have that kind of weekend. The Mummy is not even a factor.
Wonder Woman and Cars 3.
Wonder Woman and Cars 3.
Those are... they combined for 90 million this past weekend. What I mean, I'm going to do another 70 between the two?
I'm gonna say between 40 and 45 million domestic.
Really?
40 and 45
for
million.
Transformers?
You guys going real low for opening weekend for Transformers?
Yeah, and you know why? Because this is like one of the weekends before 4th of July weekend. I expect that people aren't going to go out to the movies this weekend as much. I think there's not going to be as much money to spend, and what money that will be spent, we're seeing that Wonder Woman only had a 29.5 drop off from the previous week. So I think it's gonna see maybe a 35 to 40. Cars, we can expect probably a 30 to 40. I think those other movies are gonna split the vote. I think All Eyez on Me is probably gonna come in at 15 next weekend, which is better than it should do.
You think it'll do 15?
Yeah, I think it'll do 15.
All right, I will at least let you know. Transformers did 70 opening weekend. Revenge of the Fallen 108. Dark of the Moon 97, Age of Extinction 100. So it's increased almost each movie. And this is the final installment, and you even said that it drew interest for you by them saying that it's the last chapter, even though the title says The Last Night. But now everybody's knowing this is, come on, man, it's summertime.
Can I
get you to go up to 55? Can I get you to go up to 55?
So Nate is 80 to 85. Derek is
60 minimum, with assumptions that it will do much better. Much better than that.
You got to pick a range, man.
Yeah.
No.
You can't just say higher than 60. Then
No. I'm all right.
Yeah, because Nate
be
is
clear.
above you. That's why.
Yeah.
Well. To be honest, like my knee jerk reaction was going to say 80. I'm like, well, let me think about the competition and everything like that. But like, I'm right with you, Nate. Like, I think this is going to do a ton of money this weekend. A ton of money.
We have the return of
those left. Yes.
Characters from the.
I'm gonna say okay. So
it's gonna do better than whatever Brian thinks BK is gonna think he's gonna do. That's all
I'm gonna say.
It's gonna.
I'm gonna say, since I have the leeway to do so, I'm gonna change a little bit. I'm gonna say 45 to 50, and 1 cent.
Wow.
And I feel that it'll be 60 to 100 million.
To $11 billion.
$11 billion.
To infinity
and
plus
3
1.
cents.
And 3 cents.
What's the runtime on? Let's see. Oh, actually, you know what? They took it down to 149 minutes. That's good.
Oh, really? That's kind of good.
Well, a little less than 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I mean, y'all are probably right. I'm giving my answer not based on what's right, but based on what I believe should be right. I know that Mark Wahlberg is pretty much bulletproof when it comes to box office draw, so that alone is going to bring people in.
Because he talks like this.
Anthony
Don't do
Hopkins.
these things.
Yeah.
Don't attack our planet. We're over here fine over here. What are you doing, Optimus? Come on.
Yeah, and go ahead.
Actually, from the trailers, they don't have his daughter, right?
No, she wasn't. She's not. Not that I've seen. They got that cute little other kid though, and that's going to attract other kids.
Did she get Megan Foxed? Did she say something to Michael Bay?
Not sure. Yeah, she went through that ugly phase as a kid. But anyway, we got our predictions out there. It's wow, what a week. This has been a long show, and we haven't really talked about much, but.
Oh no, we discussed Tupac for quite
exactly. Hey, well, listen, it's unfortunately, sometimes we got to take those hits for the audience, and there's a lot of people who are not going to see that film, and a lot of people want to discuss it. So,
not all heroes wear capes.
Exactly. So, I took one for the team and tried to give my best fair analysis while also trying to keep my black card. So that's my story, and I'm going to stick to it.
Stay woke.
Exactly. Any moments of silence for this week, Nate?
Yeah, they announced X-Men: The Dark Phoenix.
Oh no! I forgot about that. I
Jennifer Lawrence, James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, the guy that played Beast. They're all signed on.
This is so surreal. I legit thought I dreamt that.
Surreal.
I thought I dreamt that and hoped it was look for real. Like I was like, I think that's a bad dream I had. But yeah, you're right, the Dark Phoenix. Man.
It's going to be a sequel to the much-loved X-Men Apocalypse.
No.
It's going to be set in the 90s.
Well, no, it's basically a remake of X-Men The Last Stand, which was terrible. Hey, guys, that did not work last time. Let's try doing it again without Wolverine this time.
And 20 years prior to the first one.
Oh, man.
Man, when you have a time travel movie, you can do anything with the franchise.
This is what I don't understand. Like, the Days of the Future Past screw the timeline up so much that all these events just happened 20 years earlier.
Meanwhile, Jennifer Lawrence's star has fallen, and no one really cares to see her in a film right now. So
it's because of Passenger.
Yeah, I mean, and just because she's also, it's that Hollywood sweetheart stuff. There's an expiration date. You know, like you can only pull that card for so long before people like, quirky is not so cute. But anyway, Derek has given us the old cane, pulling us off the dun 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 Sandman Sim at the Apollo.
I'm doing the mummy scene. I'm pulling your parachute right now. You're out the plane.
All right, man. Well, thank y'all. That's gonna do it for us this week. Thank you for coming back this week and helping us help you do media the player way. Shout outs to my co-captains, Derreck.
Corrupting the system.
And Nate.
I've actually joined in this corrupting.
Yes!
All right, we got
like everything in life, you just get beaten down by the system.
a system of the down, if you will. Wake up! All right, we'll see y'all next week. There we go. This actually was a short episode. Thanks for listening to the Player Way podcast. Recorded in a single take from Los Angeles, California, Dallas, Texas, and Atlanta, Georgia, by Nathan Petersen, Derek Lewis, and BK Jackson. Our opening theme is titled Bound by Ricky Remedy, courtesy of Elysian Records. And our closing theme is titled Coconut King Diaries by Xander, spelled Zahnder. You can find this music by both Ricky Remedy and Xander, and many more tracks on SoundCloud. And remember, no matter what choices you make or paths you follow, just make sure you do it the player way. See you next week.